If you've ever spent time in Kelowna, you've probably felt it. Not just the lake, not just the views, not even the weather. There's something about how this city functions that feels different from other Canadian cities. And it's not always easy to put your finger on why. On paper, Kelowna shouldn't behave like a high-demand market. It doesn't have millions of residents, it doesn't rely on dense downtown or corporate employment hub, and it was never designed around mass transit or vertical growth. And yet, demand here continues to persist. That confuses people. Some are waiting on the sidelines for a crash. Others assume Kelowna will follow the same path as every other Canadian city. But the assumption misses something critical. Kelowna didn't grow the way other cities did. And in this video, I'm going to highlight 6 specific reasons why this market behaves differently than almost every other city in Canada. And once you understand those 6 reasons, you'll stop looking at Kelowna through national headlines and start seeing it for what it actually is. But before we dig in, if you are new here, I am Andrea Sereda. I'm a local realtor, and this channel is all about what it's really like living in Kelowna and helping people make the move anywhere in the Okanagan. So if that is you and that is why you are here, hit that subscribe button and don't miss the next one. Now, it's really important that we get this out of the way first. Kelowna is not immune to market cycles. Prices can soften, and we've seen this over the last few years. And yes, corrections can absolutely happen. That's normal. But what I'm going to show you is why Kelowna doesn't crash the same way other cities do, and why doom and gloom national headlines don't tell the full story here. This isn't hype, it's structure, demand, and long-term behavior. Right now, more people than ever are asking, should I wait? Is Kelowna overpriced? Is a crash coming? And the biggest risk isn't buying at the wrong time. The bigger risk is misunderstanding the market you're looking at. Because Kelowna doesn't rely on the same forces as Toronto, Calgary, or other cities that can sprawl endlessly. And that difference matters more than ever. I'm going to break this down into 6 core principles that explain why Kelowna behaves differently from most Canadian cities. Once you see these clearly, you'll understand why demand keeps coming back, why land constraints matter more than headlines, and why lifestyle-driven markets don't follow the same crash patterns. Let's start with how Kelowna grew in the first place. Reason number 1, Kelowna didn't grow for jobs. Most Canadian cities grew around jobs. Finance, industry, ports, corporate headquarters. Jobs pulled people in. Density followed. Downtowns grew upward. Kelowna didn't. Kelowna grew as a destination. People came here for the lake, the climate, the lifestyle, and that slower pace, long before retirement became the main conversation. From the beginning, Kelowna was built around living well, not maximizing density. And that single difference still shapes the city today. Now, that foundation influenced the kind of economy Kelowna would develop next. So reason number 2 is the job market quietly evolved. That doesn't mean Kelowna doesn't have jobs. It does. But the type of jobs here are changing over time. Tourism laid the foundation. Wineries, hospitality, recreation, all lifestyle-aligned industries. Then quietly, something else emerged. Tech, remote work, professional services, entrepreneurs bringing their careers with them. Kelowna became a place where people could move first and let work adapt. And that shift mattered more than anyone realized. Because then came the real inflection point, which is our third reason. COVID rewired the market permanently. To understand Kelowna today, you have to rewind to early 2020. When COVID first dominated the headlines, fear took over. Life paused, people waited. But once people realized life was continuing, just differently, a deeper shift began. People around the country started asking quieter questions. Why are we living here? Why do we put up with 8 months of winter? What would life look like if we chose differently? And for the first time, those questions weren't hypothetical. Work went remote, location became flexible, geography loosened its grip. That moment triggered one of the largest lifestyle-driven migrations in Canadian history, and the Okanagan was one of the biggest beneficiaries. Some people came completely to reset their lives. Others came because work no longer tied them to a city. But almost everyone came for the same reason, a better way of life. And that shift never reversed. Which brings us to Kelowna's biggest structural advantage, and reason number 4. Retirement demand is the superpower. Kelowna remains one of the top retirement destinations in Canada. Retirees aren't tied to commutes, office locations. They choose places based on climate, healthcare, lifestyle, safety, accessibility, milder winters, an expanding hospital, walkable communities, and a growing international airport. Retirement demand is long-term. It's not driven by short-term prices, swings, headlines. It's driven by life decisions that don't easily reverse. When people choose where they want to spend the next 10, 20, 30 years of their life, they're not making the decisions based on quarterly market data. That makes retirement-driven demand far stickier and far less speculative than demand built on investment or job cycles. But lifestyle demand alone doesn't explain pricing resilience, which leads us to reason number 5. Kelowna's limited land to expand. For a long time, Kelowna had the luxury of growing outward, and that's why the skyline stayed modest for so many years. But cities eventually meet their edges. In Kelowna's case, those edges are very real. ALR land, the lake, the mountains, established growth boundaries, and over the last 5 years, you've seen the result. More towers, more density downtown, and more vertical development than ever before. With over $1 billion in future development planned or proposed, Kelowna is entering a new phase, not because it wants to imitate bigger cities, but because it no longer has the option to sprawl. And when demand continues to rise inside fixed boundaries, markets behave differently. This is where most crash arguments fall apart. Which leads us to reason 6, why crash narratives miss the mark. A true housing crash requires 2 things: too much supply and not enough demand. Kelowna has neither. Supply is structurally constrained. Demand is lifestyle and retirement driven. Corrections can happen, short-term pullbacks are normal, but a full-blown crash assumes conditions Kelowna simply doesn't have. A crash needs too much supply and not enough demand, and Kelowna has the opposite problem. Affordability is relative, and that matters. Kelowna is not cheap. That's important to say clearly. Prices are high, especially for locals and younger buyers. But affordability is always relative. Compared to cities like Vancouver, Toronto, or other major Canadian cities, Kelowna still offers a different trade-off. People aren't moving here to save money. They're trading density for space, congestion for lifestyle, and stress for livability. And that migration trend isn't slowing down, it's accelerating. So as you can see, there isn't just one reason Kelowna behaves differently than most Canadian cities. There are layers of it. And once you understand those layers, it gets a lot harder to lump Kelowna into whatever national headline happens to be that week. So if you are thinking about moving to or retiring in Kelowna or anywhere in the Okanagan, or you just want a second opinion on what the market is doing and how it impacts your plans, reach out anytime. My contact info and our relocation guide are down in the description. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.